I'm Dave, and you're listening to another episode of Dying to Listen, podcast presented by the Disc Golf Dyers Guild. We have yet another in-person dyer. There's a lot of Wisconsin dyers here, but we have Mason Maxwell from Midwest Dye Labs. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Happy to be here, man.
You know, I remember I think I first met you at the Disc Barn when you were working there.
Yeah.
And little did I know you have some accolades, and you're pretty good at more than just disc dyeing, too.
I need to get better at talking about it.
You're humble, which I like. That's great. So I guess you play a little disc golf.
I've been known to dabble.
Yes.
Yeah.
What got you into disc golf?
Oh, I owe it all to my judo instructor, my sensei, Brad Walker. We were getting ready for a competition, rigorous morning, getting thrown hundreds of times, all that fun stuff. Particularly hard day, like one of those days where it's like, I might throw up, maybe not. And he's like, all right, for a cool down, I'm going to go to the park. If anybody wants to join me, try this disc golf thing out. You're welcome to join. And I said, I've got an afternoon to kill. Why not? Let's give this a stab. And, for a handful of throws, pretty bad, of course. And then I had one splash, and that was about it.
Nice.
So,
what year was that?
That would have been 2015.
Okay. And where was that?
Sioux Falls, South Dakota, specifically Tut Hill.
Gotcha. That's awesome. What made you continue disc golf?
That hearing that noise, that chain splash, it's pretty addicting pretty quick. It happens with a lot of us. Some of us are still waiting on that first good shot, but
yes, I know a friend who is.
We all have one, and I just want to say that Anthony, it's gonna come. You're gonna get that one. You'll be back. But there's a reason that you'll be coming back.
Yes. So what do you like about disc golf, and what inspires you to keep playing? Even though that's kind of the same question I asked, but I'm just like.
For me, it's like a mental. It's a perfect combination of mental acuity and physical prowess, both. Like you're playing almost like a Rubik's Cube, trying to solve. I need to cut this direction at this time in the woods with this amount of wind. I like the factor that everything changes consistently. You can play the same course 30 different times and have 30 different rounds. Maybe not some. As you get better, it's not. But it ends up being roughly about the same. But some days the forehand looks a little better just on how the wind's pushing. That you have to think about your shots and then achieve like a mastery of the heavens, so to speak. Nice.
So this is the part where you can potentially brag. I guess, how successful have you been with playing disc golf?
Rec State Champ of South Dakota, what up?
All right.
2018. I've played around. In terms of accolades like that, I don't know. I've won some tournaments. I had it's gone down a bit since I jumped up in higher divisions, but I had something at it was like a 13% win average. So that's not too bad.
Yeah. Way better than me. So. Yeah,
I've won some leagues and stuff. Not that matters too much, but I just like to play. I'm competitive, yes, but I like throwing the coolest shot possible. So that's a little bit extra. Like today, I was out at the new Alpine Valley trying to make my bite work all day. Almost threw in. I think it was either par 4 or 5, but almost threw in for 2 either way with the bite from a little nasty shot. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do cool stuff rather than always. Yeah, who makes putts?
Yeah,
that's for losers.
Big distance, bro.
Yeah, big distance and crazy lines. That's what I'm about.
Awesome. So yeah, you've done some traveling this summer and past, but where have you recently been?
Yeah, I was out in Emporia for a handful of months. Shout out Dr. Christy. Thank you very much for letting me stay with you, being an amazing friend.
That's awesome.
I was out in Emporia for the Glass Blown Open and was looking at driving back and went, I'm just going to be back down here in a month or two anyway for Dynamic Disc Open to Vend. So I ended up staying out there, being taken care of by the Dynamic Disc family, and had a great time out there. Got to do a lot of playing in terms of tournaments. Excuse me, that's that Coke Zero getting to me a little bit. And I got to play tournaments, and I got to meet a handful of what were they? The elite of pros. Played, hang out with them. It's a good time. Sorry to spill the beans, but Calvin, I still got a better utility frisbee toss catch thrower than you.
Oh snap!
Yeah, he'll go, "Who's that guy?" Like I've never heard of him, knowing him.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. Played a lot of tournaments out in Kansas. Had fun. And taught a handful of people how to die, which was really cool.
Awesome.
You got, if I was on top of my social media game, I already have that video out by now, but that may be common. Then I was out at the Preserve, went out for a wedding in Minneapolis, and figured I'd just pop on over, say what up to some people. So
nice,
it's cool,
awesome. So that's pretty cool. What got you into disc dying?
Same as how. Just getting into it, Sensei Walker, he had a couple dyed discs, and I was like, that's pretty cool. He wasn't dying, he was just getting them, and I was like, that's kind of a nifty idea. And I happened to there's an older blend at the time of Trilogy White, and it's kind of was like the precursor to hybrid, and then hybrid came out around that time. It was harder to get, but it felt it's so good and milky opaque white. And you know how some of us are. We get very weird about our feels of our disc, and I latched onto that. But being in South Dakota, there's a lot of snow. Like you're in ankle deep or knee deep snow as you're playing. Got to figure out how to do something. So I had to figure out how to touch up the rims, make it bright, so all my friends didn't hate me.
Well,
more.
Yes, that's good that you played in the snow because you somehow moved to Wisconsin, which there's still snow.
Yeah, it's nicer.
Really?
These are I'm out there playing in shorts. Maybe I'm a little weird, but
all right. I know this is off topic from disc dying, but when you do play in the snow, do you have any ribbons or chalk or just
not anymore? Yeah, right. Yeah. When I was newer to the game, I would use the ribbons. You take a piece of duct tape, cut it in half, all that, splay it out, all that fun stuff. Let it sit overnight though. That's the big thing a lot of people don't say is because if you put it on flat or fresh or on a cold disc, it's going to be off real quick.
Yeah.
But now I know where my discs go. I'm good enough to know about where my discs go and have a decent enough eye that I can pick it out. But that's after years of throwing so bad that I'm like, it has to be in this vicinity. I've got honed that sense.
Yes. So you started dyeing your discs so you can find it better in the snow.
Yeah.
Awesome. What was your first dye that you've done?
First one that I did it was right as the Catapult and Destiny came out, and they were some pretty sloppy spin dyes. I got my it was an old, I'm forgetting the name right now, but any audiophile would be like, oh, that's a terrible record player. And it was particularly bad because when you're getting a new record player, you want a direct drive. You don't want a belt drive. A belt drive, it gives it this nice hula luau thing going on. Yeah. So I actually learned on that for many years, learning to just ride that wave, hit some Stevie B going no.
Nice.
No. Yeah, it's just going around. So, yeah, that was at the suggestion of Ryan Phillips. Great spin dyer and dyer in general. His name, I don't think he hasn't done it in years, and in my opinion, literally one of the best of all time to ever dye. We'd love to see you do some stuff again. I know you're killing it on pottery and painting, but come back and dye some discs, Ryan.
That would be awesome. What year? Do you remember what year you dyed that first?
It's been winter 2016.
2016?
Yeah, probably around March would be my guess. It was right as the Destiny and Catapult came out. The Catapult was black, green, and yellow because it had a green stamp, and then the Destiny was, I think, pretty solid blue. Pretty bare bones basics.
Nice. Do you remember the dye that you used for that?
Worm dip. Okay. Worm dip day one, worm dip day since.
All right. Well, if it works for you, don't change.
Yeah, I'm fiercely loyal.
There you go. So, spin dyeing is probably your signature style of what you do.
Right.
Have you done any other methods?
Yeah, I've tried a lot of them. I just, I'm a dork about when it comes to waste.
Yeah.
And it's not that people are getting better about, means that they can recycle their means, but I'm just, I'm a little bit of a tree hugger mom and sister. So when I see myself, I would do shaving cream and, they look cool and all, but when I see it all just going down the drain or trash, I'm just man, it's probably fine. It's probably fine, but yeah. There's some, it tickles my bones weird.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how you dye this, there can be waste, and there are ways to reuse things which are helpful. But yeah, that makes sense. What do you use to apply the dye to the disc when you spin dye?
So I've always been just straight up like blue box Q-tip guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever that blue Q-tip box is. I've recently got, like, I used to, like, to hit my fine lines, I would like and I would like seriously advocate. I'm like, no guys, it's just as good as a brush, or just as good. Like you go like this and you tease it out, give her a nice like purple nurple until you get this nice string that you can get going. And it is a pain. It's a pain in the keister. So
yes,
the new makeup brushes. I mean, like whatever the cat eye craze is. I thank you all you ladies, but like for those cat eyes, those little like they look like middle kunai. Is that, am I right? Those little poker, like they come circular and then do a point. Mm-hmm. I forget my impractical karate weapon, but
yeah, I don't know either.
They come to a nice fine point. Mm-hmm. I've been using those lately. I have a couple brushes if I'm laying down like fat black, like I give her probably like third of an inch, something like that. They're third of an inch and horsehair.
Nice. So, have you tried any other dye like Prochem or iDye mixtures?
Yeah, I don't like the saturation that it gives. Like it to me, it leaves colors feeling dull, in my opinion, and they seem to tend to kind of fade quick. And it's just my observation, at least on spin dyes, they don't have the same pop that a quick coat worm dip can present. And quick coat, like, it's on instant. I don't have to fiddle. I'm not doing a science project. I know exactly what it is out the box, and you can create so many different colors just from through very many different means, just with what those pre-bought mixes are. Yeah. And like what I'll do is all right, here's how you break it down. You get the quart and then you break it into the 4, and then the 4 becomes like you get your quart, and they go into the small little pints. It does about 3.5 of them. Of those, I think they're 8-ounce little 8 or so, 8-ounce bottles, 8 ounce.
4 sounds about right.
4-ounce bottle, yeah. Like who knows numbers, man? I eyeball everything.
That works.
Yeah. So like you can. There's a lot of different means that you can use to get your colors out of that. You can reuse old Q-tips. That's one that not a lot of people do. And that's partial from that bleeding heart. Bleeding heart is what but you can mix different colors based on your Q-tip, or after you're done with the blue, leave that reserved. Then you hit it in the pink. It'll give you a nice little color. Versus it'll be different than if you pour your blues and pinks together to create a purple. Like there's many between those two means. And then also just straight up like shading layers, and the blending of gradients. You can create so many different colors, and that it's like I feel like I haven't even explored all those combinations yet before I would go out and do elsewhere. That's why I'm trying to leave no stone unturned there first, and then spin dyeing before even tackling other stuff too rigorously.
No, that makes sense. So I'm curious the methods for mixing the dye. So you do the Q-tip. That's very interesting, very unique. You do the overlapping and shading. But when you actually mix the liquid, like, do you just put it in another container, or do you have like a pallet of something, or how do you?
Right, you can either buy the bottles, or like I've done it a lot over the years, so I'm somewhat of a pack rat. So
I feel like you open your closet, the bottles just keep falling out.
You're not far off. And like those, like, so I'll take like an old blue, and then I'll throw a little bit of one color, a little bit of blue, throw a little another color, shake it up, see what it looks like. Have an old like, I have a blank canvas that like I try to like a tournament blank canvas stag that I'll use. I'll just use like a nice little dye on it. Those are like has premium white opaque plastic. That's what we want, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter what company, but a premium plastic, opaque white plastic is king. And I'll just use a swatch and go, okay, it looks like it maybe needs a little more blue, needs a little more X, Y, and Z, until you can get about what you want. And then in terms of saturation, it's how many strokes, how many times it's spinning on as you're building that color out. So you can just, a lot of times people, they'll just heavy press, I assume, I'm not there watching you do it, but I from what I can gather, that they're just kind of hard hitting the pressure on there, and it's a hard nuked color, and it's fine, this is what it is. But you can, if you let your brush evaporate a little bit and let that color build slowly, you can find a lot of unique shades in between, and they will hold, because that stuff, it dives into the plastic.
Yeah. So when you have your custom mix, do you do a bunch of it, or do you just do a tiny little bit? I
make about a bottle's worth at a time.
Do you label it, or do you just know that this is kind of the color?
So I have one. I take a shot. I'm very scientific about it, and I have it's it'll be PP, PB, BBP. It's and those are the parts. Yeah, and they do look. I should get get a label maker.
As long as you know what they are.
Right. And sometimes that's the joy, is I don't. And then I'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah,
I may not have a weapon,
cool.
But I'll keep running until I find one.
There you go. So obviously but Quick Coat Warmed Up is in Wausau, Wisconsin?
Yeah, I heard that relatively recently, and I
Really?
feel like I had known that, but it just forgotten. But it felt like a new fact. Cows got 3 stomachs. They're like, what, really? Yeah, of course, I knew that.
Yeah, and you don't get the 8-ounce bottles. You get the pints.
Yeah,
or quarts.
I think the quarts.
Yeah.
The quart. You can get pints and quarts. Get the quart. If you're serious about it at all, get a quart. It'll last you a long time. I mean, I can't remember the last time I actually ordered it, because I was like, I'm gonna buy 2 quarts, and I'm still chilling on something the second quart hasn't been cracked yet. And
nice.
And when I do, I try to. Excuse me. I try to just take care of it and get them in the bottles right away, because there's just a metal lid on top, and I've made the mistake early of buying that metal lid and maybe not closing it all the way. I go there and then I have a nice can of nothing,
and it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, shit.
That's the problem with acetone. I mean, I shouldn't say problem, but something to be aware of acetone, especially for us ADHD folks. Shout out, what up, y'all? I make it a point, so I'll mill about, I'll go wash a disc or something like that, and then somebody texts you, says, hey, I'm going to be at dress kit, can you be there? I said 25 minutes, I'm running. Run into my car right now, and then you come back, and then your blue is a third of what it was. It does make it maybe a little more potent, arguably, but I don't know, I'm making that part of it. That's just to make myself feel good.
Yes.
But I've been making it a point to go back and make sure my lids are on once I'm done. It'd be nice if you just did that step right away, but
I do that because I don't trust my phalanges to not hit it.
Right, yeah, that's the other part too, is get a good spot away from you.
Yes.
And one that it's accessible, but you're not gonna just hit that elbow on either.
And speaking of that, have you had any kind of fail stories of anything?
Oh yeah, I have an old carpet in the garage that had seen a couple reds get splooshed up. It happens. I used to drink though too, so that I haven't since I quit drinking, which is good.
All right,
so it's been almost a little over 3 years since I've had a bad spill like that. But I mean, it looks like Carrie. Dude, you spill red, you're just all over going why are they laughing at me?
Red is also very potent.
Yeah, red nukes is a nuker.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite color of warm dip?
That's a really good question that I've never thought of. Blue or pink.
Yeah.
You can build a lot on either of those. Probably blue though, because it's the most versatile. And underrated, black.
Yeah.
Black. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used black Quick Coat. I think I've only used maybe 5 or 6 colors, but I know there's some more that I wanted to get. But
black's good. The only one to stay away from is the not watermelon green. The not watermelon green is basically yellow. It looks green, but when you apply it to a disc, it looks the same as the chartreuse yellow.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're identical, and they just maybe they did one dropper of the blue in there. Yeah, they also have their mix. And I want to know what it is, but it's the same as the yellow.
Yeah. I'm also very curious to know what their medium is, because it's not complete acetone. I feel like it's something
Oh yeah, it's definitely not complete acetone. Because like your acetone, like if you like, I've scraped, and gone like, not paid attention to where my dye supply is at, and at the bottom of where it's evaporated, I'll throw a little acetone in there, and it's a lot more viscous, or a lot not that's not the right word. It's thinner.
Yeah.
Substantially thinner if it's just acetone. They got something going on there in Wausau.
Yes, it's the all paper mill water.
Let's go find them right now.
Right. So you think the viscosity of worm dip is a little bit thicker?
It's thicker.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I never noticed that before.
It's. Yeah, I think so. I may not be using the right word, but like you'll notice that it it's really splashy. Like if you shake it, like if it's just the acetone at the bottom of the bottle, it moves a lot freer than. It's not like this is thick by any means, but like you'll notice that it's parts per whatever.
Yeah.
It seems less on the acetone.
So, do you think the quick quote worm dip takes faster or less than an acetone mixture, or about the same?
I think it takes faster than too, which is what's bizarre, because the acetone stuff, like I remember the last time I had to do it was on the orange, and the orange, like I was just sitting and like hanging out for a hot minute when it was just acetone. And like I don't play mad scientist. I have labs in the thing, but I'm not like I'm probably not too good with fire. Like a fire inflammable like that. Like that you would use if you're using something like Prochem. Hitting that up. But I think, I think it takes whatever the worm dip is. It's magic, man.
Have you ever tried denatured alcohol?
I have. Yeah, it's all right. I don't think it penetrates as much.
Yeah, it does take more time to do its thing.
But what I'm getting at is it doesn't. Not only does it instant take, but like when you start to saturate and blend colors, it doesn't seem to create the nice gradients that worm dip can. Like I think worm dip is king on that, and that's kind of what I do. Push. So.
And what is your favorite plastic to dye on?
Favorite plastic to dye on is the new Supreme stuff.
Really?
Like the Supreme and Royal plastic. It's money, man. Like it can be. You can have whatever color you want. It doesn't even have to be white. Like I was talking with them, they're like, get whites before, and then I started trying and actually use, and they were like, yeah, we're working on it. We know you guys want it, and I just tried it on some of the tans and the beiges, and I'm hitting full rainbows on like the not like what to a dyer would be like. Oh my god, that's the ugliest color. But like it soaks it up and sings and penetrates through all of it regardless of whatever it is. Like I've had some dark purples turn out great where I can get yellow in them. Like it seems to like break the laws of the color wheel.
This doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, but it takes.
Do you know that plastic is relatively new? Do you know how much it fades compared to some other stuff?
Decent. I mean, it does fade. All dyes fade.
Yeah.
But like I've had stuff that was like a year old that was looking pretty solid and sharp still. I got Supreme EMAC Truth over here if you want to take a peek at it just to see how it saturates. I'll grab it here. Yeah, those are pretty stellar. I got this from Eric at the block party. Thank you, Eric.
Nice. That is, I really, really like the colors on this.
Right.
It's almost like retro.
Yeah, that's I've heard that described in my dyes a lot. It's got a retro throwback feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it, but this plastic it absorbs like instantly. Like it just seems to suck up color, and it keeps taking. I've seen what other people have done with Prochem on it with like your cell style dyes and shaving cream dyes, and it absorbs that too great. Like it, I can't sing its praises enough, and it feels good too.
Yeah, nice.
It's invaded my bag. I used to be like I would say 95% West Side guy, and now, like, it's slowly creeped in. Like every new mold that comes out in that plastic, it's slowly taking over in my bag.
Nice. So what is your favorite disc manufacturer to dye discs?
I'm on Team West Side. I've always been a West Side guy since I wouldn't say not quite day one, but probably like day 34 of playing disc golf. Like day 34 with Team West Side or West Side guy.
Nice.
And I found originally it was a Lat 64 Claymore and a used bin. Then I found a Stag, and the rest is history. And at this point, I'm here for life. So
nice. How did you get hooked up with them?
I was a Team Trilogy guy for many years. There was another close friend of mine and mentor, Mike Ahrens, out in South Dakota. He was a Team Trilogy guy at the time. Helped introduce me to, really, how to be as a human in disc golf. And not just as a player, but how do we interact with our community? What type of values do we represent? Mm-hmm. And it was to me, very punk rock. And, emphasize on taking care of each other and making it a positive impact. So like that, then like we ran a trilogy challenge to pay for the skid steer that put in 2 9-holes, without them, I was like, we're in this town of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where we have one course and it was like massively overpacked. And this is 2015. I can't imagine, what some of it is out there when there were some damage on those Spencer Tomar courses, how crowded that course would have been.
Yeah. Not to seem mean, but sure. I'm surprised that area was crowded with disc golf.
Yeah, listen, South Dakota, we like being outside.
Maybe there's nothing else to do.
You're not far off,
I've been to Sioux Falls.
Yeah, it's a good town. There, solid art scene. People are doing cool things out there. It honestly reminds me of the burbs in Milwaukee. It's about the same.
Right on. So, what inspires your dye creations, or where do you just get your inspiration from?
I like American traditional tattooing. Lots of heavy blacks used to accent colors. I think that shows in a lot of my work. Black wasn't, at the time. There were people using black, but not where it's taking up a large portion of the disc. Mm-hmm. So I like that because it really encases the color. And as things fade over time, even on some of these tattoos, it's still, you can still see those colors come through because of what's bordered around it. If you leave, I think it's Art Nouveau style tattoos, where it's just there's hardly any thin lines of black. They look awesome when they're done at first, but disc golf and skin, fade a little different. But so imagine a year or two down the line for a disc, 5-10 years down the line on skin, those things are washed, to the point of I don't even know what color that was.
That's a good analogy that I never thought of, that tattooing and disc dyeing are the same because they all fade.
They all fade.
That's great. Wow.
Nothing's permanent in this world, unfortunately. So that's, one of the great reminders.
Yes. So what is the hardest part of disc dyeing, and what's the easiest part for you?
The hardest part of disc dyeing is making sure that I have enough nutrition to be still. That I take care of myself physically and mentally, so that I'm not shaky while I'm doing this. Because when you're hitting those fine lines and you got a little bit of this,
yes,
it gets a little daunting, and that line becomes a thick line, and then the disc just changes altogether. Yeah. The easiest part is thinking about what people's faces are going to look like when they get it. That's my favorite part. It's that's the motivation right there. I've always kind of hung local and in-person events rather than online. I'm bridging into that a little bit more, but I've always liked to see people in their eyes light up. That's my favorite part.
No, it is cool. It's like a kid on Christmas seeing that their disc is oh my God, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, can you explain a little bit about your process of how you actually spin dye a disc?
So what I'm going to do is and it was pointed out to me that this is a skill in and of itself. I know you have a very fancy rig.
Yes.
And I would encourage anybody who's new to starting out, just get the rig. Mm-hmm. I've done this tens of thousands of times at this point to where I can hit it. I never thought of it as a skill, but what I'm looking for is when I'm centering a disc is I'll have it roughly in the center, mm-hmm. and I'm looking to make sure that it looks like it's spinning in absolute place. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the edges, or if there's a reference mark on the disc itself, if there's say a circular part of the stamp, that it doesn't look like it's warbling off center in any regard. Mm-hmm. And so as it reaches its apex, as it's going like this, you'll notice there's a slight little jut. As the top of it flares, I'll just take it ever so slightly, like we're talking the minutest of, and I'll use my pinkies on the record player, so like I'm not start stopping, because that can even set, like that can even throw it off without your jig. So I'll let my pinkies slide on the sides, and I'll get a nice like, and then as I see that apex flare, I'll just hit just like the lightest tap with my fingers, and then I'll slowly release my fingers, let it spin again, and until it goes right. Sometimes, I'll be there a minute. Sometimes I get it like first one or two. Madison Walker was the one. She was like, "Oh my God! Like, I don't think you understand that this is incredible." Like that of just going like that. Yeah. But yeah, get the jig. Like,
okay, disclaimer: the jig does not center the disc.
Oh, okay.
You still have to center it. The main point of the jig is to lift it up above the pin. You don't have the pin.
Gotcha. Wait, the pin?
Well, the little center pin on the record player.
Yeah.
You cut yours off, right?
No. I keep my pin.
Really?
Yeah. I just leave it on there.
Oh, how do you do bottom spins, or do you not do them?
So I do bottom spins I have an old heart, like it's right next to my old stag, and so I have an old like BT medium heart, and that thing's seen color. Coming up on not quite a decade yet, but like it's been there real early. It's got some nice unique color splotches and mashes on it. Then I'll throw it upside down, and then I'll take like a relatively fresh bottle of worm dip, and I'll anchor it in the center, because if it doesn't have that anchor in the center, then it will wobble. So, and then I do the same thing. I center that harp disc, usually throw the second one on top. It's pretty dang close. Another little quick fondle, and it's good to go.
You like fondling your discs?
Yeah.
Well, regardless, I'll give you the rig to see if you even want to use it or like it.
I'd love to test it out.
Yeah, no problem. But yes, continue on your process.
Yeah, so after we've got it centered, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open. I only try to keep one color open at a time. As you said earlier, we're trying to stop these accidents.
Yes.
Like, I can't imagine an angry spouse or landlord, raining down on me. So, yeah, just be careful. When you get into this time, be careful. You might get murdered.
Right. Are you in an apartment right now?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm in like a basement setup. So like I can get messy, but I still try to like keep it. Yeah, keep it together.
Gotcha.
So after we're centered and using one at a time, I'm gonna take a Q-tip. I'll dip her right in there, give her a little air out here. Not too aggressive. You might accidentally splatter on your disc. That can be its own thing too. You can hit it like the Salt Bay style, going up here. Get some nice splatters going. But at the same time, what we're trying not to do is oversaturate our brush. When you drop it down, you'll create splashes that you can see in the plastic, and I think that's one of the characteristics. You can see somebody who's spin dyed for a while versus just starting out, and it's not knocking, because we all start somewhere, but you'll find that as you go along. The best advice I had ever got from Ryan starting out, and it's the only person I've ever really talked to about spin dyes in that capacity, is use worm dip. And figure it out and have fun. But a light brush will take you far. You can always add more. You can't. There's no undo button on spin dyes.
Yes, the dyeing in general. It's like once it's there, it's there.
It's there. And one of the other reasons I encourage you to explore and to try it is because some of the better things that I've ever come up with are the result of mistakes. Every new technique or every extension or an application has been the result of, here's a glaring error that I'm trying to hide. And
that's really what disc dyeing is just hiding your mistakes.
Right. There's nothing really pretty. It's just I'm trying to cover up what a failure that I am.
Everyone's like, wow, this looks so good. Yeah.
You should have seen it before.
Yes.
So every disc is a Kardashian.
Great. Are there specific colors that you like to lay down first?
Light to dark.
Yeah.
Light to dark. Yeah, but at the same time, there's no, those rules can change too, because the darks will influence what your color expression. It's what you're trying to go for on a particular disc. I try to have some semblance of balance, not only in degrees of lines, but also color as well. From darks on the edges, lights towards the center.
Yeah.
And whatever you can do whatever expression of that in many different ways throughout the disc, but I think a good spin die shows balance.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So what other things have you done to spice up your spin dies?
To spice up my spin dice, I'll throw on a pretty good playlist. It's like Rhythm as a Dancer, Rhythm of the Night. There's a lot of rhythm going on.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm pretty, like there's, it'd be the Q-tips
Mm-hmm.
that I talked about earlier, using different Q-tips. And just, with that worm dip, like you can, I need to stop saying the phrase simple spin dice, because there's nothing further than the truth when you say a simple spin. Even when it's a quote simple spin and expression, and there's a lot of effort and work and control that goes into it. I prefer let's coin this term right now. I'm not that fast today. Well, I'll keep running until I find what word it is, but it's a
superb spin.
A superb.
It's a supreme.
A supreme. Yeah, this is a supreme die.
Yes.
What I do to spice them up. Yeah, I use some black.
Yeah.
Yeah, black's your friend. Don't be scared of it.
So what do you do? I see on this one you have, I think, some masking.
Yeah.
What do you do for that?
I'm a glue fella.
Yeah.
Yeah, a glue. You can use vinyl too. I don't have the patience. It's not I do, but like one of the reasons that I started dyeing is it's almost therapeutic for me. Like I've my whole life I've always been like gifted in some ways and lacking in others, as we all are, right? I was blessed with like macro level movements. The micro is what I struggle with. Like I remember I was in kindergarten and I went early. I was like early at 5, but I almost got held. Like they're like, he's social, but this kid can't figure out scissors. Like so, like the small fine details and movements. That's what I've always struggled with. So it's something that I'm bad at. So naturally, I want to focus my whole life trying to rectify that little error.
Yeah, that's a good information, because I would have never thought of that, because spin dyeing, you need that fine motor skill.
I'm abysmal. Yeah, so it's
well, it definitely doesn't show on your spin dies. So
thank you.
Kudos for that. For your glue masking, so you use like white Elmer's glue, right?
White Elmer's.
Yeah.
You can use anything. I've heard people using wood glue or clear glue. White Elmer's is cheap.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It's available. I get like a fatty jug like that, like that. Like I pour into my little bottles, and my bottles take me far. And I don't. You can use brushes, guitar picks, old business cards. Like I don't know why there's business cards in disc golf, but when I get them, I always giggle a little bit, and I'm like, "Cool, this is going directly into my supplies that I will never look at it again."
There you go.
But you can go straight out the applicator, or you can play with it in various means. I've used the back of my brush too, to help create some streaks in there, and you can be. And what the cool part about it is you can be as precise or non-precise as you want.
Yeah, I like the glue masking because it's like very organic,
right?
And you can definitely get some cool patterns in that.
And the annoying part with it is waiting for it to dry, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, how long do you let yours wait to dry?
I try to space it out in my work to where I don't it depends. There's a few different thoughts. I think the best thing you can do is just let it dry, take the time, do it before you go to bed, wake up in the morning, hit it then. Then if you're doing multiple glue mask layers, you can go to work, go play around, do whatever, do what thou will, and then get back to it. Yeah. But you can use a heat lamp that a lot of people use for your cell dyes. That's what they're called.
Yes.
Yep, the cells or your lotions. You can use those if you have those at home. That'll help you dry it up pretty quick. Yeah, I've used a fan, which is really mixed results, because sometimes, especially on if you're going for fine detailed glue lines, it won't hold all the way, so it'll actually rip up. And if the littlest bit rips up, your design's off.
Yeah.
You'll see variance in there, as a result. So you either got to do a little bit of fine-tuning surgery with an X-Acto knife and then pound over it. Or what it's even then is probably already too late. So, you burn that disc. Unfortunately, it's a pay-to-play thing.
Yeah. So, do you have a must-have accessory for disc dyeing? I mean, I have a good guess because it's basically all you do. Without it, you could not do it.
Yeah, I feel like this is a game of Family Feud, and I'm supposed to be like, it's the big one, and I'm like, what is can of tuna? like no, record player for me. Another is I have a nice high back chair. I like being up over my disc rather than I may get down, but I like having the ability to like arch and get over it. Like I don't want it too low. Like I keep my arm I like it where I'm about nipple level, like when I'm dying.
Yeah.
And I come from the outside, hold it like a pencil, and the lightest, and this is something I always do when I teach people. Can I see your hand real quick? What I'm trying to do is, do you feel that? Mm-hmm. That's the level of pressure that I'm putting on.
Yeah.
Like the lightest little bit. Mm-hmm. Like if you can't feel that, but if it's
like a feather.
Yeah, like you're trying to tickle yourself.
Yeah, you're not like an ape trying to go.
Right, and you can definitely and there are times to pound, and there are times to be delicate.
Yes.
And you can go delicate all the way, but at the same time, like sometimes you can just get through that color. That's why I also say figure it out, keep experimenting, keep playing, because you'll know the difference in what time to use which technique and which level of pressure.
Have you noticed the different colors take faster or slower than each other?
Yes, red, pink, those are the heaters. Yellow, yeah, and they're different. They're different. Vibration intensities. Mm-hmm. Intensities is the way I would frame it. Is because like red is almost instant and it nukes quick. Like you're gonna get that red, but pink, like it will take quick, but you'll also you'll get a lot of different richnesses. Blue is the best example of that.
Yeah.
That like you can go like if you're real light, you can get like a light blue, but if you can go dark, it can get almost as dark as black. Not quite, but it'll push that if you really go to town on it. Yellow is a forgiving color. Yeah. And like there's in the old video that it's really cool, when I'm out on the road vending places, I've had people run up to me like, dude, thank you so much, you're the guy who got me spin dyeing with awesome. With an old video that Ryan Miller did over at Caddy Disc Golf. And people respond to my description of yellow. I don't even remember it exactly, but it's like it's very soft. It's delicate. Yeah. It's forgiving. You use yellow in a lot of the blending of colors, but it's about what you get as well, but it's not like grabby the way that it doesn't just saturate the way that red does.
Yeah. Do you find any other colors like to streak more than others?
Pink. Pink's a dirty girl. It gets all over.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
I can redo that. That's
no. We're keeping it. It's in here.
It's rap.
No editing. What? Do you have the same record player that you've always had, or have you had multiple?
No, I've had multiple. I had that belt drive I had a belt drive one for years, and you're hitting like a nice wiggle. That's when I told somebody that I'm actually impressed that you progressed this far with just that. Get a direct drive. It's an investment, but if you want to do something, you got to have the right tools. That's that's what it comes down to. A direct drive means that it spins on a level plane. There's going to be no wobble. Mm-hmm. It's not Kohler, that's the toilet. Yeah. Kroger? No, that's the grocery store. I'm out of K's.
I can't think of any record players that start with a K for manufacturer.
R, maybe?
Is it like a local company?
No.
No. It's not Cause. That's the headphones.
No.
All right.
No, these are abysmal. If you put the ones that it'd be like that's Record Scratch City on the old one. Get a direct drive though. Direct drive is important, and you'll end up if you get serious about it, you'll end up buying one anyway. So you might as well just pay the $100-$200 off the jump. Mm-hmm. You can do other rigs. I've heard of people using box fans and pottery wheels and stuff like that, but I don't like those because you don't get the level of control that you get with a record player. I can control the level of spin with my pinky. I can dampen. I can without having to readjust every single time. So like you can slow down, see it, start, stop, because that's how I tell what level of color saturation I want. It's a nice slow down. You can get a rough estimate as you're looking at it, but it's just letting those pinkies drag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, besides fondling the discs, you like to fondle the record player.
I don't fondle.
Yes. No, that's interesting that you use your fingers to slow it down.
Yeah.
If you need to.
Yeah.
Stop.
It makes just a nice little noise, and let it. Let it go.
There you go. So if you had to start disc dyeing, is there anything you'd do differently, knowing what you know now? Like if you had to start over.
Quit.
You're not the first person to say that.
Right, yeah. It's one of those, like, the old, I'm going to butcher it, but it's a Nietzsche line about, like, a Germanic fairy tale of a king catches a leprechaun-ish figure and is like, how do I live a life, like a good life? Mm-hmm. And it's to have never been born or to die early. And it's just the unfortunate truth.
Right on. Well, I mean, you like doing disc dyeing, so...
Yeah, I shouldn't make it so...
dramatic.
So, yeah, this is my pain. Yeah, no. Hand gestures. But, it's a good time. Yeah, I would say... I don't know what I would do differently. I've always been, like, I always recommend to people pick a style or maybe two, but stick with one for a while.
Yep.
Like really figure that out, know the ins and outs of it before you go elsewhere. Like I like spin dyes. I've been spin dyeing from the beginning, and like I have zero interest in doing like football team logos or like hentai or whatever you kids are putting on disc these days. I just I like a nice simple clean rainbow. Okay.
Yes. Have you done or tried lollipops?
Yeah. They're different. I'm okay at them. I'm by no means good at them. It's just something that I haven't done a lot of experiment with. I'll use that thumb as my pinky as my drag again, and just kind of like let it go. I've heard of people using dimmer switches and that kind of stuff, but for the level that I would like to be good at them, I don't do that. You know what I mean? I wouldn't put it out there as like, hey, I'm happy with this. And compared, you can tell a difference. Yeah. And so there's still things that I don't know about the record player yet, and that's why it's like, find your avenue and run it to the ground, because you'll learn something that I don't know. And versus like if you just go off tutorials all the time, you're gonna know what other people know, but you're gonna limit yourself because you're gonna think what that is. You haven't even explored that area yet. So keep running with it, keep trying new things, and I guarantee someone will come along. Like it's inevitable, somebody comes out with some new dope technique or idea that nobody had thought of yet. So just keep running.
Yeah, experimentation is I feel like a very big thing. One, for your learning to learn stuff, and you might come up with a new technique or something. Right,
and that's to rob somebody of that joy. like that's that's what it's to me. Like that's the most fulfilling thing is like having an error force me to try something new and having it work out. Like there's nothing sweeter than that.
Yes. How long does it take you to spin dye a disc?
Depends on what I'm doing. Yeah. It can be shit. It can be.
You can swear.
All right.
Fuck the fucking fuckers.
Well, fuck them. Fucking A. Sometimes it takes me about 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes me an hour. It's literally, and that's just on the table time. Like I think a lot of people forget, like, disc dyers, if you're worth your salt, you're washing discs like a mug. Like you're an old mug that has copy stains and run. You're really getting after it. Like there's labor and time involved and materials involved outside of the direct dye process. Yeah. And that's sometimes washing it 2, 3, 4, 5 times per disc itself. And so yeah, like direct dye time on the table, I can do as short as 5 minutes or so, and without excluding the glue dry times, I can spend a good hour and a half on a disc.
Yeah, and that brings another question. You wash the disc before you dye as well?
I wash before and after. The reason being is sometimes from the factory they get a little crazy on the silicone like remover or whatever that they spray on the injection mold system itself, that they can remove the disc easy. That's what those spots are on your disc. If it looks like there's a little wash or a little dropout. And sometimes that's oil from your fingers from improperly handling it. Sometimes that's just the leftover remainder. So it'll literally look like if you're doing a bed style dye, that's what sometimes that white splotch is on there. It isn't that there's an air pocket. It's that's a part of what's on the disc, and you just got to take that extra time. Some people use a magic eraser beforehand. Don't go too crazy on some of the stamps; they will come off. I just use if it's good enough for ducks, it's good. Like it's good enough for me. I use that Dawn dish soap, baby. Just a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of love, and an old bottle of hand sanitizer, or not hand sanitizer, but water.
Gotcha.
Hand soap.
So just soap in your hand. Do you use like a towel, washcloth?
I have an old towel. It's just as trusty as my old heart. Like that towel it's seen some things.
So when you start disc dyeing, you need a towel.
Yeah, you're gonna need a towel.
Yes.
You can never forget a towel.
And after you're done disc dyeing, you do the same process?
Same process over. Especially, like you got to, blues leave a residue with worm dip. Blues can leave like a little white filmy residue afterwards if you don't wash it. Especially if you get into the heavy saturated element and you'll think you have it, wash it again. Wash it 2-3 times, afterwards. Red, like if you don't wash it, like it can go on to other colors in your discs and bag. People get upset. Like I'm not trying, that was an early lesson. I'm sorry, Rob. Like I didn't mean to ink that up. I didn't know this. They didn't have this back in 2016.
Unintentional dyeing another disc.
Right. Yeah. And like I just say like you got to pay me for that disc too. But like no. You got to wash it off. You'll see the residue. You'll see the excess just go off down the drain. That's just just part of it. Pinks, reds are noticeable. You'll see that in the variation of the color. The blues you won't, but you'll see the residue. Yellow, yellow is so good that like it treats you right. Like I'm sure you could just throw yellow and it's good, but I still wash it.
Yeah.
You still wash it. A little bit of water, a little bit of soap, a little bit of hot water. Life's good.
Have you noticed any, like when you're rinsing it, the dye bleeding to other places that you didn't want it to bleed?
Yeah, so if you got to make sure if you got like a white sink, you go in after and make sure that like, because if you will leave it there, like the little bit of pink might stain your sink, and like it might depending where you live and who you live with, that could be a huge fight. And I'm not telling you how to live your life, but I like a life of tranquility, so I always make sure that I take a good toilet paper around the edges or extra splashes of water, a couple of these, Don't be an animal. Get those beard hairs out of the sink, like all those things that I'm sure we've each heard at some point in our lives.
Yes. So I guess I wasn't saying that specifically, but on the disc, have you noticed?
Oh, no.
No?
Like you're doing it so quick that it comes off like... it's different than like if you're using something like lotion or like a glue or something that might leach and have the ability to hang on. When it's water, it just rolls off pretty quick. And I'm sure if you let it sit there for a long time, it might. But like that's like I started to wash a disc. I decided I was hungry. I made a chicken pot pie from scratch. And enjoyed said chicken pot pie and went, oh man, I forgot about that disc. I got to go wash it. Like you might do it. That would be, I think about what it would take. Yeah. Would be my guess.
Okay. Well, don't make food while you're in the middle of dying.
You get the grease up on it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like you can't, you munch before, you munch after. But be sure to munch.
Yeah. You need your substance.
You got to. And like that's one of the things I really, I try, like I find, and it's, I don't know. I'm dumb, and I read something about Mark Twain once where he had his greatest ideas, like just waking up from sleep. Like he would hold stuff in his hand and let it fall down, and the noise he'd be like, "Oh shit, here's gravity." I know that's Newton, but you get what I'm saying. Like he would have his grand breakthroughs in that liminal space between waking life and sleep. And so I try to, when I wake up, like even before I go, like drink a cup of water or coffee, I'll go knock out a die. And sometimes it turns out great, and I like some of my more creative ones that I feel like they're coming from that time frame before that first cup of coffee.
That is a very interesting way of doing it in perspective. That I guess you're not fully awake, and you're just kind of muscle memory in a way, and you just do whatever You do.
Right, yeah, and like a lot of times I just let the disc take me. You know, as corny as that sounds, I just let the disc take me. But like I'll go off the stamp colors, and it just tells me, like this one's gonna have a lot of blue, green, yellow in it. This one's gonna be black and red and white. Yeah. Yeah. So the disc will tell you what it needs more than often than not.
Yeah. And speaking of stamps, do you ever wipe your stamps?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Just acetone and water. Have a stream of water so that it doesn't streak. A little bit of acetone. I use not Q-tips, cotton balls forever. Some people don't like them because they can get a little scuffy, but this is one from my friend Dr. Chris. She used just straight up paper towel, and it was awesome. And I was surprised at how good it was. I was like, wouldn't that scratch it up more than a cotton ball? No, not surprisingly not, and it knocks it out quick.
Yeah, just don't be an animal and like scrub the hell out of it.
Yeah,
somewhat gentle, but
right. Yeah, exactly. You got to hit it with a little more than this, but not like trying to like mush a bug.
Not a knuckle in your sternum.
No, that's not your like older brother or little sister you're trying to get from the back of the SUV or whatever.
Do you typically do just like the edges of the disc, or the full flight plate of the disc?
I've done both. I do. So the way I look at it personally, my philosophy is that I'm hesitant always to use the word art. Like I'm reluctant to don that label, period. And what I'm trying to do is, if anything, I'm just trying to create a picture frame for it. The disc is already the art itself. This is some Andy Warhol horse shit. Like it's already perfect as is. It's its ready-made self. So all I'm trying to do is create a frame on it, and that's why I stick to that outside. That's a nice like cute sounding theoretical answer why I'm lazy and don't glue everything. But I can't, I can do that too and it's fine and I enjoy it. But like I like seeing the ripples in the plastic. I like seeing the variations. If you have that kind of disc, if it's just a plain white one, then yeah, absolutely knock it out. But if you got those like milky striations and all that fun stuff, like in the Supreme plastic, like why would I want to cover up like this? This isn't even the most intense variant of it, but
yeah,
like there's a nice little biohazard thing going on in here, and I'm just trying to create that picture frame for an already great piece of art.
Yeah, I think spin dyeing is a great framing for either the stamp that's on there or any other kind of dye that you do on there. It's always a good way to finish it or complete it. When you do spin dye over a stamp, have you had any issues with the stamp coming off?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I use worm, you can use denatured alcohol a little bit, like if you're going that route. But since I'm a worm dip guy, like it is a thin red line. Yes. Yeah, this is the nuclear option. Like it's gonna nuke your stamp, and it's probably gonna create a drag and make an ugly line. And so, like, you gotta avoid stamps if you're using quick cut worm dip or any acetone based dye when you're spin dyeing, or it has to be glued and protected or vinyled off. Whatever the world's your oyster on what you want to do to protect it. You either avoid it or you make sure it's covered. Otherwise, you're gonna lose your stamp and affect the aesthetics of your disc.
Yes, you're gonna have a bad time.
You're gonna have a bad time.
So you've been doing this for a while. Have you had any weird commissions or any weird requests for dyes?
That's a really good question.
And or unique ones that kind of stood out to you?
There's one, oh my god, my buddy, I want to say Micah, who's based out of Aberdeen, South Dakota. He had this like hippie band that he loved, and he was like, I want an impressionistic dye of this, of an album cover, and it was like something like a waterfall going into space, into the like the road. So I had that as a guiding rubric. That was a pretty fun one. Again, I try to stay away from like that kind of stuff, of stencils to that degree. I'm not Mr. Law and Mr. Copyright. Do whatever you want. Like, have fun. But, like, I prefer to avoid headaches when I can. And, I don't feel fulfilled doing, like, football teams and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. it's not the most fulfilling, like you say, but depending on what it is, it can pay the bills.
Right, and that's exactly it. And then going back to tattoo artists, so many of them, even people who are incredible, and like my friend Tim Jewell, he's like, hey, the first handful of years when I was starting out, doing script and butterfly tattoos paid the bills. Like, don't knock them. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you do more commission work, or do you kind of build up an inventory of stuff if you do sell stuff?
I do both.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do both. I do a good deal of commission, and I keep some stock on hand, and yeah, I try to keep a balance of both. Commission's the way to go, I think, though.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to have the overhead on hand, and then people get roughly what they want. And I'm blessed enough to have done this long enough that I have people who've known who I am for a minute and have taken care of me, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you. And like, they know what I do, and they don't tell me what to do, and that's the best part. Is they go, I like what you do, and I get to have fun.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I turn up something pretty decent.
That's awesome. How many discs have you been turning out recently?
It changes. Like, I'll have a day where I go nuts and I'll knock out like 25, and then some days I'll do none. Like I always say to people, like, especially when they're going, like, if they're starting to think about doing this full time, is that, listen, be ready. You're gonna have $1,000 day and a $40 week. There's nothing glamorous about it.
Feast or famine,
and be ready for that wave, and try to be a decent person in the interim. Like, that's not try, but be but know that, like, there's gonna be days where you're extremely motivated, some days where you're not. I try to do at least one a day, minimum. I don't have a covenant with myself, but I try to do that. But there's times where it's like, I might not touch it for a week.
Yeah.
It's what I have on my docket, my agenda, and what bills do I have to pay.
Yes. How do you motivate yourself, or do you just have to be in a specific mood to get your groove on?
I like food.
Yeah.
I like to eat.
All right.
So, like, that's a good one. And beyond that, it's a mood, like, it's absolutely a mood. I'll die grumpy or die sad, whatever, but when there's that moment when I wake up, the schedule is all over the place, but like, sometimes I'll wake up early and I'll feel like super motivated, just get that out and knock it out. And it's before bed, or those are the times for me. It's before bed or early in the morning.
Yeah. Like,
middle of the day stuff, I feel like I hate it. I hate, like, if I'm dying around noon, like, I don't want to punch the whole point was to not punch a clock, right? Yeah. So, like, I do ultimately when the work needs to be done, but if I have my druthers, it's in the morning or right before bed.
Righto. So you've ended events, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or tricks for people that want to vend at events?
Yeah, figure out who's in charge, send them an email, let them know, get the skinny on that. Go through the proper channels. I feel like I've tried a lot of different vending setups. I feel like I get the most attraction when I just have like a handful of tables out there and I just throw them on top. I've had boxes and rows and all of them neatly organized. They get milled about, and they're hard to keep track, and you're going to be doing that and going, no, that's there, and wasting your time on what it's about. People are like, who's this lunatic? Versus they're just on the table. People go, whoa, that's kind of cool, and that might pull them over. It might be overwash. I've had events where I've had more discs than I had any business even owning at one point. And I've had discs where I've had just like 10 to 20, and like where they've almost all gone. So it depends on what the event is, but it's better to be over prepared, but don't oversaturate whatever it is. I've seen, people have a rack. Get a rack. That's something on my list. I need like a rack. Just racks.
Yes.
Like a rack's nice, just something, nothing crazy, something to stand out a little bit. Give yourself a little pop. I like to bring my table when I can. Just because it introduces a conversation and people go, oh, this is how you do that. Like, oh, that's what that is. Like that. Oh, that's crazy. I never thought of it. Like it gives a little bit more credence, because if you look at it, some of them, like if it's just like a single solid color, you go like, oh, like whatever. But it's like, oh, that's how he did that. That's kind of neat. Like it adds a little bit of intrigue and spice to bring people in. And plus, you get to have some cool conversations about it, and that's how it's fun. I did one of the things I'm most proud of recently, like of any of the things I've ever done dying, is there's a disc golfer, a good friend of mine, Josh Barnes, had a motorcycle accident, had a traumatic brain injury. He was in a coma. He's fighting right now, and we're thinking about you, brother. But I was up at a tournament with my good friend Brandon Ray Watson out in Sheboygan. He runs the Pickle Open out there, and he was kind enough to let me set up a table. I did below my average rate of what I charge, but I said, just of like a quick, hey, in between rounds, before rounds, he flipped me $10. 5 goes to the club, 5 goes to Josh. We raised $610, something like that. Just spinning out discs, and there's some extra discs from Mark Ayler as well that I still have. If you're local, if you want to holler, I'll get those posted. But just doing. Yeah, I'm all about taking care of those who take care of me.
Yeah, no, that's a good motto, and paying it forward too. Yeah.
Right. I did not do this to make money. I don't think anybody, there's a handful of people who's like, I can skull fuck whatever dollar out of this bloated corpse of an activity. Like that shit makes me sick. Yeah. I apologize for all the cursing, but like those are the people that I think should go run in traffic.
Yeah. You are not going to make millions on disc dying.
No.
If anything, it's a way to support the hobby.
It's to support your right. It supports your fix.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. Just it allows you to do what you like to do.
Yeah.
And beyond that, like, I just want to make people happy. Make kids, and see them light up. Like there's nothing like it makes me so happy to see. I send a disc to a buddy of mine, and he'll film the reaction of the opening of the box because his son Jack will run and be like, "Oh, that's mine, right?" Like he's just like, "Oh wow, you got me this!" Like every single time, like clockwork. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is very awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about specific to disc dying?
Don't be afraid to fail. Like everybody's trying to do their best, obviously, but you're not going to learn if you don't fail or if you don't try something new. So, do something dumb. Do something dumb and reckless. It might be cool.
Yes, or you'll have a good story to tell.
Right, yeah. Like one time I was with Ryan Miller, and he's like, have you ever thought about just, like, and this was like the subtle edge, like you're staring over a bridge looking at the cliff, and you're like, I'm pretty sure there's enough water that we could jump, right? And you do. Thank you, Ryan, for this. It ended up being abysmal, but it was a fun story. But like straight up, like imagine, like I don't DJ, so that might be part of it too. Is I don't have the cutting skills to, like
yeah.
Wow. But I imagined what my poor like categories type charades version of what I would think DJing would be. It looked like a nightmare, but every single streak and color. But it was fun.
Yeah.
And now I know. It looks like dog shit, but who knows? It could have been awesome.
Yeah, that is a good theory or concept to try that I've never thought of.
Right, and then you could even run like whatever particular song, like, yo, this is Bone Crusher Never Scared, and this is some Fleetwood Mac. Like it's a different vibe.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. All right. So I learned a lot about disc dying and you, but we're going to get to know you a little bit more on a personal level.
Oh, scary.
Yes. So the first section that we have is favorite faves. What is your favorite band or song?
Favorite band or song? All that stuff changes all the time. I always go back to Marauder. Okay. I love Marauder. They're a New York hardcore band from the early 90s. First band to kind of mix like classic New York hardcore and death metal, and it's a shame there's for what we refer to as deathcore now, because that's what this is. Like this is, it sounds like old Old Sepultura mixed with Chrome Eggs. Like it's fun, heavy stuff.
I'm just trying to think if I remember hearing it.
Master Killer is the big one, or Life is Pain.
That means nothing to me. I need to hear it.
Right. Yeah. They're fun, but like they for a while they became, and this goes for disc dyers too. Like, take out influences other than other disc dyers, because metal is insanely derivative, and everyone that's cool, they're pulling influences from everywhere. They're going to classical music, to Jethro Tull, to all that. Like, I've seen that in an interview where like that's what like Jorge, the singer of Marauder, said. That's how they got their sound, and like everybody kind of since probably 2005 has had to try to copy Marauder a little bit, or some element of Marauder, and it all sounds roughly about the same, and it's dope and it's cool, but there's not like the edge of what made it in the first place. And so like, if you're just copying off what that new spawn is, it's just going to be a bad simulacra versus like something that is a paradigm shift. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and again, that's a good analogy to disc dyeing, is pull from other methods, because I know like acrylic pouring, a lot of disc dyers use that type of stuff for really anything. But yeah, also I feel like the 2000s were the heyday of metal.
That's whatever when you're in your high school. Is that about right?
Damn it. Damn it.
I mean, the argument could be made across it. I mean, there people could be like, Hawkwind. Like that. It's like, and stuff like that. Like there's always going to be good stuff. There's always going to be trash.
Yeah.
But, like I'm an old, that Mexican OT, that song Johnny Dang, it's really good. Kind of like, I was like, when I first heard it, I was like, this kind of reminds me of like Mike Jones, Paul Wall, and Paul Wall comes on the song, and it's fun. I got a wide variety of a mix of music. I've been also listening to Carpenter Brute a lot too. The way I describe it is like John Carpenter horror movies meets video games meets like step-by-step intro. Sitcom intro. Like they have a wide pool to pull from as well.
Nice.
And again, many different influences create something pretty cool.
And I know you mentioned it, but you like to listen to music while you dye?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I throw on pro wrestling too. That's another one of the influences I pull on. I love pro wrestling. It's some when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I thought Kane was real. Like I remember thinking Kane was real. Like he definitely came back from the dead and was coming for the Undertaker, had been scarred and survived. Like it was like straight up soap opera type stuff, and it's fun. Like I'm a butcher of Werner Herzog quote, but it's like this is like the truest form of art. It's pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Whether you like the Japanese style or hardcore style, or your Hulk Hogan show quick fun match style, or quick cookie cutter. It's all fun, and there's a lot of, and just like with disc dyeing, there's a lot of different means that these people express themselves and their art, and it's you can back whoever you want, and it's fun, but at the same time they're all doing about the same stuff.
Yeah, awesome. What is your favorite food? Because I know you like food.
I do like food. I like sushi a lot. Yeah. Like if I used to think my litmus test for wealth was like I just wanted to have enough cords. Like I just want enough cords that I don't have to worry about like going somewhere else and having to plug in somewhere for my laptop, phone, whatever. Like I can have one for each room, and I'm like, that is such a low goal. We crossed that threshold, and so it's to eat sushi, to comfortably eat sushi about once a week. If I could have it every day, that's feeling greedy. And plus, I'm not trying to get that Adam poisoning.
Yeah. Where's your favorite place around here?
Oh. That's a tough one. Like I feel like Kawa is probably my favorite.
Where's that?
I've had. It's downtown. They have good ramen as well. Hungry Sumo's okay. Fujiyama they've held it down, but their beef negamaki has been letting me down lately. I feel like they're hitting the mic. I'm getting some microwave nonsense, which makes me sad. But it's like it's nice. It's like some sort of like teriyaki-ish sweet sauce with a little bit of like Velveeta-ish cheese and scallions wrapped in a nice piece of beef. Like, very good.
Nice. Have you ever tried making your own?
No.
No?
No. I haven't tried sushi yet. I do make a decent ramen broth from scratch, and I do noodle stir fry, that kind of stuff. I just haven't got the tools yet. One of the things I asked for Christmas, like I'm not a materialistic guy. Like I don't want much, but the one thing I wanted, I got a book on dumplings, some instant dumpling powder, and then one of those like wood steamer boxes. And I haven't touched it yet. I've been, out on the road a little bit, but that's my next project, and I want to tackle making some like, traditional like pork, green onion, celery dumplings, or like sweet potato dumplings. Sweet. Steamed and fried, both.
Awesome.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes. Now I'm hungry. Damn it. What is your favorite drink?
If you look at the bottom of my cart, and this air is going to come to an end. Like I just have an assemblage of loose drinks at all times, and it's usually some water, like some kind of disgusting aspartame. Like I love myself, but I hate myself when I punish myself by drinking like Coke or Pepsi zeros.
Yeah.
If we're going, if I'm being complete serious, Sunkist Zero is legitimately delicious. It's all the hit of Sunkist. It's got orange soda with a light amount of caffeine. So like sometimes, like I'm a compulsive beverage drinker. Like I need a beverage at all times. If I don't, like I get surly. And like so I have water and like it's this Sunkist, and it's like 19 milligrams of caffeine, which is like half of your regular Coke or Pepsi. So you're drinking 2 of those for each one, but you got a beverage going. You got that steady flow of caffeine. It's nice.
So this question is kind of a wash because I know you have. But if you had to pick a pro disc golf player to play around with, who would it be and why? Or if you have, do you have a favorite that you've played with?
There's 2, and it's entirely of who they are as human beings. I loved getting to play with Calvin Heimberg and Matteo. They're both stellar people. I'd love to get around in with Zach Melton. He's healing up right now. Shout out Big Dog. He'll get there. But yeah, they're just fun people. Like it's one of those, like, I don't know, if you meet people and if you're not weird, like, like you can treat them like a human being rather than, so what, X, Y, and Z, whatever.
Yeah.
You can call these people friends eventually, and it's crazy. Yeah, Calvin was really cool to play with. He's so cool, calm, and collected. I mean, it was a casual round at Hammond Park, which is the Valley View of Emporia. So it's not, it wasn't anything crazy. We played, I was throwing a bite. He was throwing, I think it's a Mercari, similar to like a Zephyr. I think I eked him out neg 1-0. So technically I was the number 1 ranked disc golfer for like an afternoon. Immediately lost it. The way I describe it is like I slap boxed up Floyd Mayweather and eked out a decision. Like, like I saw like none of the tools he could use that makes him who he is. I was able to like go like, stop, don't. And like just edge something out. But it's not because I played well. It's because he was just an absolute sweetheart of a human being. He remember my birthday and got me a cookie cake. Aww. Yeah, he's a good human. Matteo is, as the kids say, he's him. He's him. He's exactly what you think he is, and he's a sweetheart, gem of a soul, and somebody that I feel very fortunate to have met and will ride with till the day I die.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They're just from having fun, just get to see like. There's so many levels to this. And, like every day that I think I'm king, king shit doing whatever, there's a bigger fish out there that it's like their worst days are better than your best. And so that's, again, with disc golf and disc dying, you're not needed. And that's you need to get that into your head. Like no one needs you to be there. It is only if you want to do it and you want to have fun and you have fun doing it. So like just know that, have fun. Don't stress out and just be silly. Matteo was sick. I'd love to get around in with Erica Stinchcomb as well. That would be one I would add to the list. Nice. She's an amazing woman. She's had a lot of my dies over the years in and out of her bag. A cool piece of history for at least me and Midwest iLabs is we've sent the same box back and forth for like the past 4 or 5 years. It's gotten made like I can't even count how many trips back and forth, but I sent her a text and I was like, how's old girl doing? And she was like, I assume you're talking about the box. And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, whoops. Yeah, absolutely. Nice. And she's like, it's not in good shape. It's an old Discmania box and it is like held together by tape and a prayer at this point. It made the last trip. She signed it. And so that's one of my favorite, that's going in my personal collection is that box. box that's gone back and forth a lot. She's good soul, and I'd like to play around with her someday.
Well, that's awesome. On everything, even the box.
Yeah, it's beat as whatever old felon you got.
Well, you definitely got your use out of it. So
you're right. You run all the materials to the ground. Use up your old boxes if you end up shipping stuff. Use those as cardboard backers. Mm-hmm. Once I won't with that one, but if I have a box that I can't salvage, I'll cut it up, use it as a backer.
Mm-hmm. All right. We're gonna keep that in there.
Hey.
What has been your favorite course and/or hole that you've played so far?
I gotta ponder that question. I'm sorry, Dave.
No, that's fine. I'm just gonna waft it in.
Yeah, there's things to drink in, and this isn't one of them. But my favorite whole course place. It's hard not to love my home course, my original home course in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, hole 6. It's the downhill. It is the hill of Tut Hill, and what makes it unique more than anything is how the branches hang and create the true line is a right hand backhand Annie flex that pans out, and it's such a unique it's a long I don't know the exact distance. I would guess it's over 500 downhill. It plays as a good mid-range shot. You really throw something like a tersus out to the right on a hyzer flip and let it really drift and fall because it has that much time to go. But the way that the hole forces you to shave that, the forehand's too tight, you're going to end up clipping the trees and be up high and in a nightmare spot up there on the left. If you want to attack the 2 on it, which I don't believe I ever have. I'd been close a couple times when I was there. I guarantee if I was out there, I'd get it now. Mm-hmm. But when I was starting, the best I could get was about 50 out. And never sunk the putt. I think I could get it today, but it's a very cool hole. There's a new one at that new Alpine Valley that I like holes that you're presented with options, but there's kind of a right idea. And how this one, it forced you through playing a hyzer flip that stood up and then fades out. And then it goes up into a mouth. It was really, I like pretty more than anything else. If a course is pretty, I'd rather play that than a course that is super technical or whatever. A good, most people when they describe what course do I like, it's what's course plays to my strengths as a player. You know what I mean? That's what, if you talk to enough people, they go oh, you're clearly a power forehand guy. That's the course you like, or you're a backhand touch player, whatever. I think a good course has a mix of ways to attack it with not necessarily a right answer, but some good plausible theses. And that's what we're there to test. Yeah. And if it's pretty, there's nature, there's trees, a nice still brook. I love hole 1 at Silver Creek too, in the winter. There's something magical about that hole. Every time I walk up, I get a little bit of goosebumps. Hole 1 Silver Creek would be a good answer too. Yeah.
Silver Creek is my favorite course in this area.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alpine Valley, I just stayed today, so maybe there's some recency bias. But yeah, Silver Creek is one of my favorite courses I've ever played, probably in the top 3, no question. Number 1 would be Blue Ribbon Pines. Preserve was one I got to play the Black Bear layout. That's up there as well now. Goat Hill's okay, but I wouldn't even put it in the top 10. Wisconsin has a lot of good disc golf.
Yeah, I haven't played all the courses, and there's a shit ton.
I haven't either. I've been here 4 years, and they're like, "Have you been to this one yet?" And I'm like, "I haven't made." Dang, haven't made it to that one yet. And they're like, "Well, that's one of the gems." It's all right, now new road trips planned, and Big Brother out there. Big Brother's really cool out in Sparta, the Justin Trails.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, this is one to put on the list. There's a really cute bed and breakfast there. There's kind of an easier course, and then there's a monster of a course. I threw a heater of a round that was like a neg 4 out there on my first time sight unseen, eagle the hole out there. I felt like at the time it was the round of my absolute life. And make 4 may not even be that great, but for me it felt like I was on top of the world that day.
Awesome. All right. Well, we got to know Max a little bit more on a personal level besides all the disc dyeing. I've learned a lot, and I, again, greatly appreciate you coming out to this little podcast here and suffering through all the power outages and all the heat. But yeah, where can people find you and your work at?
You can find my player profile at Max Disc Golf. Pretty simple. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, sadly. Grown-ass man on TikTok. But, you know.
Too old for this.
I'm too old for all of it, man. All the social media stuff. Like, unfortunately, like if it wasn't for this is how I've chosen to make my bones, I don't think I would be on it at all. But it does make a good, good to coordinate disc golf rounds and like know what like when's the open mat, that kind of stuff. Like, so I'll keep it for now. And you can find me on Max Disc Golf or at Midwest Dye Labs. You can check out the Dynamic Disc auction page. I have discs up there occasionally as well that I've dyed for them that they auction on the Dynamic Disc Golf auction page on Facebook.
Yes, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And Max will also be raffling off 2 discs?
2 discs,
so
yeah.
If you want to explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so. There's 2 Joshes from our community. They've each had traumatic brain injuries and comas. The second Josh was another hit. They're 2 people that I absolutely love, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to donate the 100% of the proceeds after whatever it takes to ship directly to the families. I'm just going to go whatever the amount is between both discs, just cut it in half, and one goes to Josh Davies, one goes to Josh Barnes. We're thinking about you both, brothers. We need your laughs on the course again.
Yes, so if you want to help support them, you can head to the dyersguild.co/raffle to get entered today. Again, 100% of the proceeds will go to help them and their families to... just help them out. The raffle will go live when this podcast is released, and it'll be live for 2 weeks. So definitely go check that out. You have the chance to win one of your amazing dyed discs.
Right. I'm doing a tournament blank canvas sword that I just tournament blank canvas sword that I did a little something funky on, and then the Supreme EMAC Truth that I showed earlier on the podcast.
Gotcha. And do you want to have 2 winners or 1 winner?
Let's do 2 winners. I'll, just to encourage people to throw it out there, or, What do you think? What do you think would be best?
Yeah, we'll have 2 winners.
2 winners.
We're deciding it live now.
Yeah. Again, I do everything by the seat of my pants.
There you go.
And, again, I'll keep running until I find that weapon.
Yes. So you have a greater chance of winning the awesome disc as well as supporting a great cause. So, Max, thank you for coming on. We can do this as a...
Appreciate you, brother.
Yes.
Yeah. What happens when you make a mess?
What?
You clean it up. Little vacuum cleaner.
Nice. All right. Thanks again for being on. Until next time, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye.